King Charles believed he was dealing with a private disagreement involving his younger son, but recent developments suggest the situation has grown far beyond that. What began as a personal family issue is now being described by insiders as a serious internal divide within the royal household. If Prince William's firm opposition was meant to signal caution, reports now suggest Princess Anne has taken an even stronger position. According to multiple sources close to the palace, the Princess Royal is deeply unhappy and has aligned herself with Prince William in opposing any plan to welcome Prince Harry back to Balmoral. This is no longer being framed as a simple father and son matter. Observers say it has taken on wider constitutional and institutional implications. Princess Anne, widely regarded as one of the most disciplined and duty-focused members of the royal family, was also one of the late Queen's most trusted advisors. Reports claim she has delivered a clear and uncompromising message regarding a potential Sussex return. She does not support it. Sources suggest Anne is not merely backing William, she is actively reinforcing his stance. While King Charles may be inclined toward reconciliation, Anne is reportedly focused on protecting the legacy, dignity, and privacy of royal institutions. One concern repeatedly raised is Balmoral itself. Insiders say Anne strongly believes the estate, deeply tied to the late Queen's final years, should remain a private family refuge, not a backdrop for public controversy or media attention. So why has Princess Anne chosen to speak up now? According to royal commentators, she believes the timing is critical. Reports suggest she has warned the king that a reunion under current conditions could create long-term damage, not healing. Some even describe her message as a cautionary alert, one meant to prevent unintended consequences that could weaken the monarchy's stability. As tensions rise, questions remain unanswered. What exactly did Princess Anne say behind closed doors? Why do some within royal circles believe this proposed reunion carries hidden risks? And why are senior advisors reportedly urging extreme caution? Stay with me until the end of this video because we're about to explain the reported ultimatum that may decide the future direction of the royal family. Princess Anne has reportedly put a decisive option on the table, one so firm that it leaves the king with very limited room to maneuver. Insiders describe her approach as direct and uncompromising. She has stepped in decisively, and she is not approaching this situation gently. To understand why Princess Anne has become so involved, we need to look at what she values most: strength and resolve. Within royal circles, this moment is being described as a concern about leadership perception. Princess Anne has long been known as one of the most resilient and no-nonsense members of the royal family. She is practical, disciplined, and deeply protective of the institution. She has little patience for what she views as emotional decision-making or strategic missteps. According to sources close to the palace, Anne believes her brother is at risk of appearing overly accommodating. While King Charles may see his son as someone seeking reconciliation, Anne reportedly sees a different picture. In her view, she is not looking at a family issue alone. She is looking at a public relations operation. Insiders say she has delivered a blunt message to the king: be careful who you trust. Princess Anne is said to believe extending goodwill without clear accountability creates risk. She points to a pattern that many observers have noted over the past several years. Each attempted reconciliation has often been followed by renewed controversy, fresh criticism, or further public exposure. From her perspective, welcoming the Sussexes to Balmoral without clear acknowledgments, corrections, or visible changes in conduct would not represent generosity, it would signal weakness. Reportedly, Anne fears that such a move could undermine the authority of the crown. She sees a situation where personal goodwill might be used to rebuild a damaged public image elsewhere at the expense of royal credibility. To King Charles, the gesture may appear as a step towards healing. To Princess Anne, it appears more like a strategic lifeline for a brand that has struggled to maintain momentum outside the royal framework. Her concern is not personal, it is institutional. In her view, leadership must project steadiness and fairness. If the gates are opened too easily, it risks sending a troubling message to those family members who remained, stayed silent, and carried out their duties without complaint. In the court of public opinion, Anne believes perception matters. A monarch cannot afford to appear indecisive or overly forgiving when the stakes involve the reputation and unity of the institution itself. Public. According to reports, Princess Anne's strong reaction is driven by a deep sense of responsibility toward the crown itself. She is said to understand her brother's emotional vulnerability and believes Prince Harry knows how to appeal to it. Anne has reportedly stepped in to create distance between emotion and duty. In this dynamic, she is seen as taking the firm role, balancing King Charles's more conciliatory instincts. Her message, as described by insiders, is simple but serious. The king is not only a father, he is the guardian of a centuries-old institution. Personal feelings cannot outweigh that responsibility. From her perspective, sympathy alone is not a reason to reverse boundaries. Anne believes leadership requires restraint, even when the situation is painful. But there is another layer to her opposition, one that is deeply personal. The proposed setting for any reunion, Balmoral, is not just a royal residence to Princess Anne. It holds profound emotional weight. According to those close to the family, she views it as a place that carries meaning beyond protocol or ownership. To understand why she has drawn such a firm line, we need to understand her relationship with Balmoral itself. Within royal circles, Princess Anne is often described as the true steward of the estate's spirit. While King Charles holds the legal title, Anne is seen as the one most connected to its land, traditions, and quiet rhythms. She is comfortable in its rugged environment, values its privacy, and protects the calm it offers. More importantly, Balmoral is tied to one of the most difficult moments of her life. In September 2022, when Queen Elizabeth II passed away, it was Princess Anne who remained by her mother's side during her final hours. In a deeply moving public statement, Anne shared that she was grateful to spend those last moments with her. She accompanied her mother throughout the final journey from Balmoral to Edinburgh, never leaving her side. For Princess Anne, Balmoral is no longer simply a family retreat. It is a place of mourning, memory, and reflection. It represents her final moments with the Queen. Because of that, insiders say she views the estate as sacred ground, one that should be approached with care, respect, and discretion. Against that backdrop, the idea of reopening Balmoral to renewed controversy is deeply unsettling to her. From her point of view, this is not about exclusion. It is about preserving the dignity of a place that represents loss, duty, and legacy. According to those close to the royal household, Princess Anne's objections are rooted in deeply personal memories. She is said to believe that the public disputes and repeated disclosures involving Harry and Meghan placed enormous strain on the late Queen during her final, fragile years. Sources suggest Anne has never forgotten the timing. In her view, moments of intense public criticism unfolded while Prince Philip was failing and continued as the Queen herself was visibly declining. To Anne, those periods were not just difficult, they were sacred. Because of that, she reportedly does not see a Balmoral invitation as an act of reconciliation. She sees it as something far more troubling, a violation of a place tied to private grief. Insiders say the Princess Royal would find it deeply disrespectful for Meghan to stay at Balmoral. Her concern is not rooted in resentment, but in preservation. She fears the quiet dignity of the estate could be disrupted, and that deeply personal moments could once again become public material. What worries Anne most, according to reports, is the possibility that grief itself could be repackaged for outside audiences. She believes Balmoral should remain a protected space, one where memories are honored privately, not revisited through interviews, books, or speculation. In her mind, Balmoral is meant to be a refuge, a place where the family can remember the Queen without worrying about headlines, leaks, or future narratives. Anne is uniquely positioned to deliver this message. She is not speaking as a court advisor or public figure, but as the daughter who was present at the very end. According to insiders, her position carries moral weight that few others can claim. Her stance, they say, is not about authority, It is about guardianship. That protective instinct, however, has reportedly hardened into firm resistance. Anne is said to believe that once boundaries are loosened, they are difficult to re-establish. Past experience has made her cautious. And she has already shown, publicly and quietly, that she knows how to manage sensitive situations without creating drama. If anyone doubts Princess Anne's ability to assert control without confrontation, they only need to look back to the coronation of King Charles. Royal watchers still reference that moment. Seated directly in front of Prince Harry, Anne wore a ceremonial military hat adorned with a tall red feather. At key moments, that feather blocked Harry from the camera view, completely within protocol, entirely subtle. There was no disruption, no statement, no scene. Yet the effect was unmistakable. It was a quiet demonstration of authority, an example of how Princess Anne operates: calm, precise, and effective. Observers describe it as symbolic, a reminder that influence does not require noise. Now, as discussions around Balmoral continue, insiders suggest Anne is prepared to move beyond subtle signals, not out of hostility, but out of duty. Because Princess Anne is not only the king's sister, she is in many ways the final guardian of her mother's legacy, and she intends to protect it. Princess Anne also holds one of the monarchy's oldest ceremonial roles, gold stick in waiting. Historically, this position places her in charge of the monarch's personal protection. It is a role rooted in security, discipline, and responsibility. According to reports, Anne is now using that authority to raise serious concerns. Her argument is not emotional, it is strategic. She reportedly believes that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, as non-working royals, now operate as private individuals whose income depends on sharing personal experiences and inside perspectives. From Anne's viewpoint, that creates a problem. Balmoral is not just a private residence, it is a high-security environment where the king is most exposed, away from formal structures, routines, and layers of public protection. Allowing private citizens with commercial interests into that space, she argues, introduces unnecessary risk. Sources say Anne has warned that security threats are not limited to physical danger. Information exposure, unauthorized recordings, and narrative control are all modern vulnerabilities. In her assessment, these risks must be treated as seriously as any traditional breach. Her reported message to the king is straightforward. Security cannot be guaranteed if risk is invited inside. Before we continue, let me pause for a moment to acknowledge you, our Legacy's Edge community. In a world that often feels unsettled, I sincerely hope you and your loved ones are safe, healthy, and doing well. It's a privilege to connect with thoughtful viewers across the globe. Let us know where you're watching from by sharing your city and country in the comments. Now, back to Princess Anne's strategy, because this is where it becomes decisive. By framing her objection as a security and protocol issue rather than a family disagreement, Anne gives the king a dignified and defensible position. Instead of a personal refusal, the response becomes procedural. Security advice does not support the visit. It removes emotion from the equation. Anne understands that personal appeals can be debated. Security assessments cannot. A monarch may reconsider feelings, but protocol carries authority. Royal observers note the consistency in her approach. At the coronation, she shielded the king's image without confrontation. Now she is doing the same for his reign, using established rules, not public statements. This is why Princess Anne is viewed as such a formidable presence within the monarchy. She does not engage in headlines or public sparring. She operates within the framework, using structure, precedent, and duty. And in moments like this, that may be the most powerful position of all. A rulebook she knows better than almost anyone else. And now, standing firmly alongside Prince William, a powerful partnership has taken shape. Royal observers say a strong alliance has formed between the heir and one of the monarchy's most experienced figures. Together, they are working to ensure that Balmoral remains closed to any return under the current circumstances. If Prince Harry believed that persuading his brother would be enough to reach the king, insiders say he badly underestimated the situation. What he is now facing is a coordinated front, one that palace watchers have described as firm, unified, and immovable. We call this chapter the Alliance with William. What's unfolding behind palace doors is not emotional chaos, but careful positioning. For years, it was assumed that Princess Anne and Prince William operated independently, but this moment has brought them together around a shared goal: protecting the stability of the crown. They're approaching that goal in very different ways. Prince William's opposition is deeply personal. Those close to him say his stance is shaped by years of strain and by a desire to shield his wife and children from further disruption. His arguments come from lived experience and family loyalty. From his point of view, trust has been broken, and boundaries are necessary. Princess Anne's position, by contrast, is measured and institutional. Her objections are not driven by emotion, but by precedent, responsibility, and long-term consequence. Where William brings feeling, Anne brings structure. According to insiders, Anne has reinforced William's position by framing it in broader terms. Her message to the king is said to be clear: this decision is not about personal grievances, it is about safeguarding the institution itself. That distinction matters. With Anne's backing, William's position appears less like a personal refusal and more like a reasoned leadership stance. Her presence gives weight, balance, and historical perspective to the argument. Sources suggest Anne has become one of William's most trusted advisors during this period. She recognizes in him the same principle she has lived by for decades: duty comes first. She believes William is prepared to make difficult choices for the long-term health of the monarchy, choices that are uncomfortable but necessary. And so, she has lent her credibility, her experience, and her quiet authority. Together, their influence has shifted the balance. King Charles is often described as a man guided by compassion. He wants unity, reconciliation, and peace within the family. But he now finds himself between two powerful forces: the future of the monarchy, represented by his heir, and the legacy of the past, represented by his sister. When both voices align in firm opposition, the path forward narrows. According to royal insiders, this is not defiance, it is governance. And at this moment, the king is facing a reality where the strongest figures around him are urging restraint. This alliance represents a worst-case scenario for Prince Harry and Meghan. According to royal observers, their approach appeared to rely on a familiar tactic: appeal to King Charles's sense of family while keeping distance from Prince William. What they did not account for was Princess Anne. Within the House of Windsor, history shows that women often serve as the firmest guardians of tradition. In this case, Anne and William have formed a coordinated barrier. William controls the emotional boundary, insisting that reconciliation must come with responsibility. Anne controls the practical boundary, ensuring that access is governed by rules and security considerations. And there is one guiding principle Anne is said to be enforcing with particular resolve, a rule she has followed her entire life. Royal insiders refer to it as the working royal rule. Princess Anne is widely regarded as the most industrious member of the royal family. Year after year, she consistently carries out more official engagements than anyone else, often exceeding hundreds annually, without public praise or spectacle. Her philosophy is straightforward: contribution determines privilege. From that perspective, the idea of using royal estates as personal retreats is unacceptable. Sources say Anne is pushing for strict adherence to the agreement reached at the Sandringham summit. That decision made one thing clear: the part-time model was rejected. Individuals cannot step away from official duties, pursue private commercial ventures, and then selectively access royal privileges. To Anne, allowing stays at Balmoral or Highgrove would not be a kind family gesture. It would undermine those who remained and continued to serve. She points to working members of the family who absorbed additional responsibilities without complaint. Figures such as the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, the Gloucesters, and of course, the Prince and Princess of Wales. These individuals maintained the institution while others chose a different path. Anne reportedly believes extending special access to non-working royals sends the wrong message. It suggests that commitment is optional and that duty can be set aside without consequence. She refuses to endorse that precedent. According to sources, Anne is advocating for a clear policy. Royal residences are for those actively serving the crown. Balmoral, in her view, is not a holiday destination. It is an operational base connected to the head of state. If you are not serving that role, you do not use the facilities attached to it. This stance is not driven by emotion, but by governance. Anne understands that once boundaries blur, restoring them becomes difficult. She is also deeply aware of the modern risks surrounding commercialization and narrative control. From her perspective, preserving the monarchy requires consistency. Rules must apply equally, regardless of family ties. And that principle, work determines access, is the cornerstone she is using to ensure those boundaries remain intact. Princess Anne is acutely aware of how closely Prince Harry and Meghan's public profile depends on their connection to the crown. Even brief access to royal spaces carries enormous symbolic value. A single weekend at Balmoral would instantly restore a sense of royal relevance and generate global attention. According to insiders, Anne strongly opposes allowing that to happen. She has spent her entire life serving the institution and believes its history should never be used as promotional material. From her perspective, royal heritage is not content, it is responsibility. Her message to the king is reportedly simple: do not provide opportunities that can be repackaged for publicity. At the heart of this conflict is a fundamental difference in belief. Harry appears to see Balmoral as something he is entitled to by birth. Anne believes access must be earned through service. To her, duty is the price of admission. She has drawn a firm boundary. Without active service, loyalty, and discretion, there can be no access. And under her watch, exceptions are not being made. That leaves King Charles facing a difficult decision. Does he bend long-standing rules for his son, risking serious resistance from both his sister and his heir? Or does he adopt Anne's approach, measured, consistent, and impartial? As summer approaches, Balmoral remains closed, and guarding that decision is a woman in her 70s who has never backed down from a principle she believes is right. The lines are now clearly drawn. King Charles stands guided by compassion, while Princess Anne and Prince William stand anchored in practicality and responsibility. From this royal standoff comes a broader lesson, one that extends far beyond palaces and titles. Princess Anne's position reminds us that boundaries matter. While forgiveness is important, it cannot come at the cost of standards. Love does not require abandoning accountability. Sometimes, the strongest form of care is restraint. By opposing Harry's return under these conditions, Anne is not rejecting family. She is defending the values that have shaped her entire life. In her view, dignity is not negotiable. It is essential. Here at Legacy's Edge, many see Princess Anne as the quiet pillar of this dynasty. She does not seek attention, but she provides stability. The king wears the crown, but Anne supplies the resolve that keeps the structure intact. Without that resolve, the monarchy might have struggled to hold its ground in a rapidly changing world.
Now, we want to hear from you. Do you trust the king's instinct for reconciliation, or do you side with Princess Anne's firm boundaries? Type Anne if you support her position. Type Charles if you believe reconciliation should come first. If you respect consistency and principle, please like this video. It helps share this discussion with others. And don't forget to subscribe to WW2 Untold and turn on notifications. We'll be here to follow what happens next. Until then, stay grounded, stay thoughtful, and keep your standards strong.